Everyone, welcome to Nicole's Needlework. Today is Saturday, October 5th, and it's right around 10:30 a.m. Here's Ginger. She wants to get down. So last month has been kind of busy. After I recorded my last video, we had a mandatory evacuation because of Hurricane Dorian. So we went up to Charlotte, and my heart just goes out to the people in the Bahamas and what they are going through. I just can't even imagine I really don't have words for what they've been through and what they're still going through. It really breaks my heart. So anyway, we got lucky here. We just had, some limbs down, branches, lots of debris, but nothing major, thankfully. But because I did go to Charlotte, I of course had to make a trip to the Stitch and Frame shop in Rock Hill, which is just outside of Charlotte. And I've got kind of a mess over here. Everything is falling. And I think fall is finally coming here. Every time I got in the car after work this week, my car said it was 100. I mean, it wasn't 100, but that's what it felt like in my car. 105, 110, 100, So I'll be so glad for a little bit of a cool down. So when I went to Stitch and Frame, I was hoping to get this pattern while I was there. And it is Elizabeth Hunter, 1853, by the Scarlet House. So they had it, and I brought the threads with me just in case. I had most of the threads and the linen. So this is what I've been mainly working on the last month. And I'm almost done. I just have 2 more rows of the alphabet and numbers and another border. And then I'll be done. And I'm just using all the called for cotton threads, Weeks Dye Works, and I think 1 Classic Color Works. But I love how this is turning out. And I got this linen at the Inspired Needle outside of Chicago this summer, and it said it was vintage exemplar, but it really looks more like vintage sand dune, which is what this pattern calls for. So that's why I decided to use it. So I have my calendar here because everything is kind of a blur the last month. So for Sampler September, I ended up, okay, let me back up a little. My son Jake had he plays Super Smash Brothers. It's a game, a Nintendo game, and they have tournaments. He goes to a local weekly tournament here in Charleston, and then he went to a bigger tournament in Columbia. So the weekend after I recorded last time, I went up to Columbia, and I got to see my son Bradley in his house, and he's doing great. I actually took him to Target, bought him a few things. But after that, I went to Luna Lola, which is the yarn shop there in Columbia, and got some yarn to knit Joji Locatelli's new pattern, Ashes. And it calls for Kid Silk Haze or Kid Silk lace, and it's a lace and sock yarn shawl. So I got this yarn by the Twisted Owl, and then I got this Rowan Kid Silk Haze, and I actually have started it twice, and I keep messing up the lace. There's there's no good way to fix lace when you are knitting with this stuff. So I may start again, but right now it's on hold. And I have pictures on Instagram of what it looked like when I started. It was really pretty. And this is by, I don't have the tag with me. This is Twisted Owl Fibers. I don't think she's dying anymore. But yeah, well, here's what I ripped out. And it's gonna be really pretty. It's just a wrap, but I don't know. It's hard when you mess up that lace. It's really hard to fix. So it's on hold. And I did finish my Alexandra shawl. It's actually downstairs right now. I'll get that later and I'll show it near the end. But I worked on that quite a bit. So I decided to kit up for Sampler September. I've got a mess here. I decided to kit up as Elizabeth Furnace, Hands Across the Sea. And I love that patchwork grass section down there. And I decided to just go with the DMC. But they're so pretty. Those reds, pinks. I love the colors. Love the colors in this sampler. And I was going through my stash and found some linen. And this was just some vintage, 40 count vintage country mocha that I overdyed with tea and coffee. And all I've done is the border. And I haven't even finished the complete. So I don't know if you can tell there. So how I do my border is I do increments of 10. That helps me count. So I'll do 10, cross the X, do another 10, cross the X, and that helps me count my border. Usually it works out, unless I've miscounted my 10s. I really try to make sure it's right. But that's all I have, and I think it's going to be so pretty on this linen. So it was nice. I had the perfect cut. I think that was originally for Anne Grimshaw, and I cut it too short. So that's all I did on Elizabeth Furnace. So that was before we had to evacuate. And then my middle son Jake, his 17th birthday was the 2nd of September, and then we had to evacuate. So went up to Charlotte and decided to make a trip up to Asheville, which is like 2 hours away from Charlotte. Because I have always wanted to go to Sassy Jack's ever since they opened. So my husband was very sweet and drove me up there. It really is a neat shop, especially if you are a sampler lover. They have tons of samplers, especially Hands Across the Sea. And then her samplers, she just started reproducing. Sorry, I'm not very organized. I thought I was more organized. I always think I'm more organized than I am. So she started reproducing under Sassafras Samplers. And shout out to Brenda and Laura. Brenda and the Serial Starter. They just started a FlossTube channel. They have 3 videos now, and they're amazing. They're awesome. So Brenda had started this, Mary Good. And I was hoping to find it there, which I did, because it's her samplers and she has lots of copies. So, Sassy Jack's. And I almost got the silk they have all the silks packaged up for this. And I almost got them, but I have a little spreadsheet where I keep track of all my silks, and I actually had most of them, which is shocking for Soie d'Alger because I don't have that many Soie d'Alger. And I ordered just a few extras that I was needing. So I'm thinking of stitching this on, this is, what is this? Vintage Lentil by Lakeside Linens. So it's just a little bit of modeling there. And then I had to, like I said, I had to order a couple extra silks, and the dye lots might be a little bit off, but what I was thinking was, because the pink, maybe just do the border in one of the pinks and then the inside in the other pink. But it's going to be pretty, and I'm loving watching Brenda's progress on this. So I got that there, and then they have a lot of linen, and that is my weakness, linen. I love linen. So I got a couple pieces of parchment in the Zweigart vase. I got a piece of 46 count, and then a piece of 40 count parchment. And that's Zweigart. And you know that because of the orange line in the linen. So these will just go in my stash for future projects. And then I got a piece of 40 count Confederate gray in the Zweigart vase for Jane Tyndall. So I was going to use a Lakeside linen, but I thought I would use the Confederate gray, which is what's called for this pattern. And I borrowed some silks from Mary Good. They're all falling apart now. So I may in the future have to order a couple more. So that was a lot of fun. And I love Asheville. I love the whole area of, it was actually Weaverville, which is north of Asheville, but I really love Asheville. I love downtown Asheville. I love the mountains. I love all the cute shops. It's a very crafty, artsy area and very inspiring. I just love that area. So really want to get back there again sometime soon. I'd love to take a class at Sassy Jack's and, you know, stay up there or something. So while I was there, I took some pictures and noticed this sampler. They had the model behind the register. No, I didn't buy this there. I bought this after we came home. I went to Fire Poppies and was browsing through patterns and saw that she had this one. So I snatched it up, and I think she only had one. I think she got this at Market earlier this year. Oh, so the other fabric I got at Fire Poppies was this Precious Metals by Silk Weaver. So I decided I was going to start Alice Sarah Dennis. And I ended up converting it. So here are the DMC. I'm sorry if I'm a little nasally. I caught a cold last week. So I'm finally just getting over it, but I'm still like a little congested. So, but here are the DMC. Pretty greens, golds, reds, pinks. And I decided to do a conversion to MPI. And I actually do, I have a lot of MPI, so hopefully it'll be okay. But really, I got the border done on this, and it actually matched. I was so happy. So this is a really pretty linen. I love it. But look, there was a little blue dye spot on the linen when I opened it up. So that was kind of disappointing. I'm hoping that's the back side. So I'm hoping when I stitch on this side that it'll be covered up. So if not, I'll move some letters over or something, because it's right where these letters are. So that was Fire Poppies, and then my husband had to go to New York City for work, and since the boys are older, Jake's 17, he can watch his brother. I decided to go up there for a weekend, and he had to work for a whole week, but I just went up for one weekend. So we flew up. We actually got to fly together. We flew up on Friday morning, and just had an absolute blast. I love New York City. I've been a couple times, but I've never stayed in the city. When I was younger, I wanted to go to NYU. That was my dream. I don't know why. I've just always, I guess, romanticized New York City in my head. But I ended up getting married at 18 instead. Not that that was a bad decision. It worked out well. But so the first night or first day we were there, it really is, it's almost overwhelming, because I had this whole list of things like people had sent me to do and to eat, and it just kind of all went out the window. Once you get there, it's just like so, but we did after we got checked into the hotel and walked around a little bit, then we had we did splurge on tickets to see Moulin Rouge, and it was so good. I love the movie Moulin Rouge. So it really was, it was so much fun. I've never seen a Broadway show, so that was a lot of fun. So we just went somewhere nearby and didn't eat anything fancy. We had wings and salad, and so that was Friday, and then Saturday we went to Pearl Soho. So I've always wanted to go there. Actually, when the boys were little, I went to visit my husband's aunt in Long Island, and was gonna try and go to Pearl Soho, but I had 3 little boys in a minivan in New York City, and it just it was pretty impossible. I thought if by some miracle there's a parking spot outside Pearl Soho, which I know it wasn't gonna happen, I would get out and go, but there wasn't. I drove by and just took a picture of the building, but went to Pearl Soho, and I didn't really have any projects in mind, so that was my mistake. I should have been more prepared. So I didn't buy any yarn. I did buy this cute little project bag, and that was it. And I love Soho. I just love the buildings and the architecture. I love the shops. It's really a neat part of New York City. So actually, we took the subway down, because we were staying in Midtown, took the subway down, and I wasn't really paying attention when we were on the subway, and they said this is the last stop until City Hall, and everybody jumped off, and my husband's like, do you think we should have gotten off? And I'm like, Yeah, we probably should have gotten off. So that was okay, because we went downtown and we saw the World Trade Center Memorial, which was really neat, and I was glad we were able to see that. And then we walked back to Pearl. I had a couple subway mistakes, but by the end, I was a pro. So that was Pearl Soho. That was what we did Saturday. We walked around Times Square Saturday night, went out to dinner. Nothing really too fancy. We just were enjoying being in the city, and just did some touristy things. And then Sunday, my husband had to work. So, ginger ones. Okay, so Sunday, my husband, he had to work. We had breakfast together, and then after that, I wanted to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So I started walking up to the, let me get my directions, Upper East Side, and I'm walking up Fifth Avenue and past Tiffany's, and then there's the Apple Store. That's the, like, with the big glass block, and you go downstairs to the Apple Store. So my big splurge in New York City was to buy some AirPods. In New York City, everyone has AirPods. So I had to be like a New Yorker. I put little foam things on mine. They just make it more comfortable. You can get these on Amazon if you're curious. I can put a link. But they look kind of dorky, but I love them. I really, really like them. So that was my big splurge in New York City. So I went to the Met, got my little brochure, and walked and walked and walked and walked. Beautiful paintings, Picasso's, Van Gogh's, Monet's, just amazing things. And I knew they had a few samplers on display. I think they have hundreds in their collection, but maybe like 8 or 10 on display. So I'm all the way on one side. I have to go to the American wing to find this little section, this little hallway of samplers, and I did. They were really pretty. So I took a few pictures, and I will insert them here. Some Quaker, or a Quaker, just really pretty. And then then I was like, well, where is the more modern section? So it was way on the other side. So I wanted to see that. I wanted to see, Picasso and George O'Keeffe. They have one George O'Keeffe in there, and so that was a lot of fun. So I went up to Annie and Company and ended up getting this pretty yarn by Yoshi and Lucy. It's hard to see. Sorry for the glare. I'm guessing that's her cats. So cute. So in the Brillante, or I don't know how you say it, Dark Magic is the colorway. And it's got a little stellina in it. But it's so cute. Very pretty. And then, so that's the Upper East Side. There's another yarn shop, Nitty City, on the Upper West Side, and the park is in the middle. And I could have walked through the park or taken the subway around. So I have already walked quite a bit, and walked through all the museum, walked to that yarn shop, so I decided to take the subway. Take the subway down to Times Square, back up to the Upper West Side, and I went to Nitty City. So it was a really cute shop, teeny tiny, but had a really cool vibe. You could tell it was kind of like the hangout spot. People were sitting there knitting, and it just looked like a lot of fun. So I have been following Skein Cocaine on Instagram for quite a while, and I love her posts and her stories, and she's got a really good sense of humor. So she used to have a yarn shop in Virginia and just started dyeing yarn recently. So I got a skein of her hot sock, and then I got this cute bag as a little souvenir of my trip, and then some ChiaoGoos to start a little sock. So these are US 1s, 2.25 millimeter, and I just decided to start a little toe-up sock, just plain vanilla, with my sock yarn. So, and they gave me this bag. I told them I was from South Carolina, just visiting, and they gave me one of these cute bags. And then I realized the next weekend is the New York City Yarn Crawl, which that would have been fun to do, but I had fun doing my own little yarn crawl, and I really wanted to get to Brooklyn General, but that'll have to be next time. We just didn't make it over there. I mean, there's really only so much you can do. But just had an absolute blast in New York, and so most of the time I've worked on Elizabeth Hunter and my Alexandra shawl. I brought the shawl up. So it needs to be blocked, and I haven't even woven in the ends yet. So this was the shawl that she said would be good for 2 dye lots. Same yarn, but different dye lots, and you can see right there where my dye lot changes. And she tells you where to start using the other dye lot. So it's going to be so pretty once it's blocked. Right now it's just a wrinkled mess. But I did have some issues. I was doing so well with this shawl, and then I kept having to go back a few rows. And once it got bigger, it was a real pain to do that. But I got it done. It's all good. But eventually this will get blocked. Now I have added to the pile of things that need to be blocked. So when I got back from New York City, Fire Poppies was having their grand opening the next weekend, and she asked me if I would be willing to come in for a few hours and hang out with everyone, and I said of course. So it was me and Caitlin, who's Madam Ice, she also does floss tube, and Barefoot Needle Art. They're a couple from the Charlotte area, and they do floss tube and design. So they brought in a trunk show and were hanging out with us. So it was a lot of fun. Brought our stitching and got to meet some nice people. Colleen, who came from Merle's Inlet, and it was so nice to meet you. And then I believe her name was Maureen, and it was very nice to meet you too. So we had a lot of fun doing that. So speaking of Brenda and Laura, and one of their laws is to always have a red sampler going. I have wanted to get this for quite a while, and this is the little Red Work Pin Keep by Stacy Nash, and it's actually 2-sided. So it's like a sampler folded in half, and then they sew it together. So while I was in New York and my husband was working, I decided to start it. So it's just a tiny start, and I decided to only do the first side of the sampler. And I'm using the Call For thread, but this is Ligonier Latte 36 count by R&R. So and I'm using the Weeks Dye Works Cayenne. Very pretty red. So I haven't really worked on that too much. And I also while I was in Sassy Jack's. I'm trying to think, but this last month has just been a whirl. I got Elizabeth Walsh's work by the Scarlet House. And I vaguely remember Tanya saying, hey everyone, get your trays at Hobby Lobby because when this pattern is released, because she did a class, they'll probably be gone. Well, guess what? They're gone, and I didn't get my tray. So I searched online, every Hobby Lobby in my area, no trays. So, and I've got this kitted up with the called for threads, and this is 36 count sand by Picture This Plus. And what I think I'm gonna do, so I went on, I don't know, I was just searching for trays and the right size I needed, and Brenda Gervais did some designs with those scallop trays. So I went on, I did a search for them in Pattern Mart, or Paper Mart, not Pattern Mart, that's another site. Paper Mart had this set of 3 trays. I think after shipping it was $25 for all 3. And I think, sorry for that. And I think the smallest one will work. There'll be just a tiny bit of a border, but I think it'll work in there. And I was thinking of painting it like a antique black, charcoal grayish, blackish, and kind of making it look antique. So we'll see. But that is, definitely want to start that sometime soon. And then I have the other trays for other projects if I want. So I thought I'd give you guys a craft room update. So Labor Day weekend, my husband worked on the craft room, like really worked. Painted, primed, painted all the trim, painted all the doors. It's just beautiful in there. It's just empty though. We were wanting to get new carpet and then put in furniture. So it's just kind of, we're just kind of waiting now to get the carpet, and we need new flooring in this whole house. So that's really our main priority, is to get that done. But it is beautiful. I'll insert a picture here. I chose Repose Gray for the paint. It's by Sherwin-Williams, and I did my kitchen and dining room in that same color. I think eventually we might just paint the whole house in that color. It's a beautiful neutral gray, and my mom told me, so my brother just built a house in Michigan, and he actually painted his whole house in that same color, and we didn't even know. So it's pretty funny. Let's see. So during the Fire Poppies grand opening, I got a couple charts. I got Tired Trio by Plum Street, and a friend at work, her daughter's having a baby, and I told her if it's a girl, I will stitch this for her because she loves sloths, and I just love all the pink flowers and everything. So I got a little start on that. These are really quick to stitch up. Isn't it so cute? That little sloth. I'm about a little over a third of the way done. And this is 36 count Pearl Barley by Lakeside Linens. And I'm using all the called for threads. Pretty. So she's having a shower October 26th, so I want to get that done. I'm not sure how I'm going to finish it for her, if I'm going to frame it or make it into a pillow. it. And the other, I did get one other chart, another La-Di-Da, and that's Awake My Soul. I just love the colors in this. It's really pretty. So I think that's it. Sorry this is so unorganized. I feel like I always think I'm gonna be organized and then it's just like a mess. Oh, I did start one other thing. Another knitting project. So this, once I finished Alexandra, I feel like I have to have a shawl on the go. So I decided to start another exploration station. And I'm still kind of on the fence with these colors. I think once I do more, I'm gonna like it more. But, so I'm using mostly Malabrigo Machida, I think is how you say it. So this is Eggplant Natural. Sorry, it's really blown out. Pearl. And this is Dream in Color Jilly. And it's much more, it's showing up red, but it's really like a fuchsia. I can't get it to not show up red. But, I had them all ready to go, so I just grabbed it and thought I'd start it. That's the back. So we'll see. I'll keep going on it. It's just nice to have a shawl on the go. I don't know why. It just... And I have so many shawls now. I think I'm gonna start giving them as gifts because you can only wear so many, especially in South Carolina. There's only a short period of time that you can wear shawls. Okay, so now I really think that's it. Let me go through my calendar real quick, but I think that's it. Yes. So I'm gonna try and concentrate on getting Elizabeth Hunter finished. I'm gonna go up to Stitch and Frame Shop in a couple weeks. They're having their framing sale right now. I dropped off Caroline Broomhead, so I need to pick her up, and I'm probably gonna drop off a couple more. I'm thinking Sarah Casey Unwin, maybe Merrily Merrily We Welcome Spring, or Elizabeth Hunter if I get it finished, but I'm sure I will. So I definitely want to drop off a couple more to get framed, and so I think that's it. Yep, I think that is definitely it. Sorry again, this video is so unorganized. I'll try to do better, and I'll try and do another video once I pick up Caroline Broomhead, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.